Good day, Peace Ed Math Tutu. How are you? I hope that you are all doing fine. Today, we will be learning about one of the concepts in education for sustainable development, which is ecological justice, security, and ethics. Are you all ready? I know that you are always ready. Without further ado, let us commence our discussion. Before we formally start discussing the concept, let us first read the learning objectives. First is to define the ecological justice and environmental law, and second is to give the importance of the laws and provisions through an essay. Let us first define the important concepts of our topic, which are the ecological justice and environmental law. What is ecological justice? Environmental and ecological justice focuses on the intersections between the systemic exploitation of humans and the natural world. This includes inequities in the access and use of natural resources and in the distribution of environmental harms by race, class, gender, for example. It also extends to the consideration of our ethical obligations to the biosphere and the creatures that inhabit it, more generally. In other words, ecological justice involves the recognition that humans and all other species on Earth, as well as abiotic natural systems, are intricately interlinked. If the health and well-being of one aspect of this interlinked system is harmed, that harm radiates out to the other systems. Now, what is environmental law? Environmental law is a broad word that refers to all parts of the law that safeguard the environment. A related but different collection of regulatory regimes focuses on the management of specific natural resources such as forests, minerals, or fisheries, and is now heavily affected by environmental law ideas. In other words, environmental laws are laws that protect the environment. These include environmental regulations, or laws governing management of natural resources such as forests, minerals, or fisheries, and related topics such as environmental impact assessments. Now that you already know the definitions of ecological justice and environmental law, allow me to enumerate some of the environmental laws and provisions made by the government to protect and preserve our environment that will be tackled in this video. First is the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000, Republic Act 9003, the Presidential Decree number 825, which is providing penalty for improper disposal of garbage and other forms of uncleanliness and for other purposes, Republic Act 9275, which is the Philippine Clean Water Act of 2004, Republic Act 6969, Toxic Substances, Hazardous and Nuclear Waste Control Act of 1990, Presidential Decree 1586, Environmental Impact Statement or EIS Statement of 1978, Presidential Decree number 984, which is providing the revision of Republic Act number 3931, commonly known as the Pollution Control Law and for other purposes, Republic Act number 3571, and the Republic Act number 8749, which is the Philippine Act or Philippine Clean Act of 1999. But before we proceed, let us first have a little icebreaker. All you have to do is to guess the word from the jumbled letters given. These words are just related to our topic. Are you ready? Let's go!
Now, we will learn the different environmental laws and provisions made by the government to protect and preserve our environment. First is the Republic Act 9003, Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000. In partnership with stakeholders, the law aims to adopt a systematic, comprehensive, and ecological solid waste management program that shall ensure the protection of public health and environment. The law ensures proper segregation, collection, storage, treatment, and disposal of solid waste through the formulation and adaptation of best eco-waste products. The Act also mandates the implementation of source reduction and segregation at the household level to minimize waste generation. The law makes it mandatory to perform waste segregation through the following categories: biodegradable, non-biodegradable, and residual. The implementation of RA 9003 has significantly improved the country's waste management practices, promoting greater environmental sustainability and public health. It aims to help the Philippines become a more eco-friendly nation while preserving the natural environment for future generations. Next is the Presidential Decree number 825, which is providing penalty for improper disposal of garbage and other forms of uncleanliness and for other purposes. This is one of the Philippine environmental laws that was created with an objective for citizens to take on the duty of keeping their environment or surroundings clean and wholesome. This act is divided into 6 sections and was enacted by Ferdinand E. Marcos, President of the Philippines on the 7th of November 1975. Under this law, it is illegal to litter, scatter, dump, or dispose of any waste matter in public places, drainage systems, waterways, and any other places not designated for such purpose. This includes throwing cigarette butts or wrappers, food packaging, and other similar materials in public areas such as streets, parks, or beaches. The Presidential Decree 825 encourages the promotion of proper waste management practices among Filipinos, thereby ensuring a cleaner and healthier environment for all. The third one is the Republic Act 9275, Philippine Clean Water Act of 2004. The law aims to protect the country's water bodies from pollution from land-based sources such as industries and commercial establishments, agriculture, and community or household activities. It provides for a comprehensive and integrated strategy to prevent and minimize pollution through a multi-sectoral and participatory approach involving all the stakeholders. The Republic Act 9275, also known as the Philippine Clean Water Act of 2004, is a law that seeks to protect and preserve the country's water resources by providing guidelines for the regulation, management, and treatment of wastewater. The Philippine Clean Water Act of 2004 is an important step towards safeguarding the country's water resources and promoting sustainable development. By complying with the requirements of the law, industries and individuals can help protect the environment and ensure a clean and healthy future for generations to come. Now we have the Republic Act 6969, or also known as Toxic Substances, Hazardous and Nuclear Waste Control Act of 1990. The law aims to regulate, restrict, or prohibit the importation, manufacture, processing, sale, distribution, use, and disposal of chemical substances and mixtures that present unreasonable risk to human health. It likewise prohibits the entry, even in transit, of hazardous and nuclear wastes and their disposal into the Philippine territorial limits for whatever purpose, and to provide advancement and facilitate research and studies on toxic chemicals. The Toxic Substances, Hazardous and Nuclear Waste Control Act of 1990 is an important law that seeks to protect the Filipino people and the environment from the harmful effects of toxic substances and hazardous waste. By regulating and controlling the use and disposal of such materials, the law helps to minimize their potential impacts on human health and the ecosystem. Now, we're back to our Guess Me game. Can you guess our third word? How about our fourth word? Very good! Don't forget to comment your answers, for we will check that as your attendance.
In continuation with the environmental laws and provisions made by the government to protect and preserve our environment, we have Presidential Decree 1586 Environmental Impact Statement (EIS) Statement of 1978. The Environment Impact Assessment System was formally established in 1978 with the enactment of Presidential Decree No. 1586 to facilitate the attainment and maintenance of rational and orderly balance between socio-economic development and environmental protection. EIA is a planning and management tool that will help government, decision makers, the proponents, and the affected community address the negative consequences or risk on the environment. The process assures implementation of environment-friendly projects. So, for further explanation, the goal of this policy is to attain and maintain a rational and orderly balance between socio-economic growth and environmental protection. So, unsaan man nato pag-attain og rational and orderly balance between the socio-economic growth and the environmental protection? So, it was declared in this policy that all agencies of the national government, when we say all agencies, it includes the government-owned or controlled corporations, as well as the private corporations, firms, and other entities, that for every proposed project, it should undertake significant positive effect in the environment. So, for example, na ay isa ka agency din mag-propose sila ik project, then ang project kintahay is commercial building. So, when they propose that project, it should undertake a significant positive in the environment. And sa may pasabot nga example nga makahatag sa positive effect in the environment, like ang way sa pag-build sa building is wala siya damage sa environment. So, wala nag-include og deforestation, kanang pag-convert sa forest land into commercial land, like that. Then, sa man po'y example sa naghatag og negative effect in the environment is in kanang binali, like sa mga factory. Mag-propose sila project nga ani magtukod sila factory, then it is not in promotion with the balance of socio-economic growth and environmental protection, since ang factory is, for example, is wala siya proper nga disposal sa ilang
ways. So it would bring a negative effect in the environment. So mo na example saan nato pag-attain og rational and orderly balance between socio-economic growth and environmental protection. Nga kada propose nato og project, it should bring a significant positive effect in the environment. So the President of the Philippines may, on his or own initiative or upon recommendation of the National Environmental Protection Council, by proclamation declare certain projects, undertakings, or areas in the country as environmentally critical. So the President of the Philippines has the power to declare projects nga mag-promote og balance between socio-economic growth and environmental protection, as well as pwede declare ang president nga na certain area sa country nga environmentally critical. So kung environmentally critical na nga area is ang project nga i-propose ana should render a positive effect in the environment, then dili siya makapa-wear sa status sa environment. Then, no person, partnership, or corporation shall undertake or operate any such declared environmentally critical project or areas without first securing an environmental compliance certificate issued by the President. So, ang all agencies nga na-mention na earlier should first secure an environmental compliance certificate. So, kung ma-secure na natin nga certificate, it means that our project is rendering a positive effect in the environment. Kaya dili man mo issue ang government ana nga certificate once ang inyong project is environmentally critical. So, maka-bring og negative effect in the environment. So, importante jud nga kada project, kada proposed project it is in accordance to the positive effect in the environment. So, the National Environmental Protection Council shall issue the necessary rules and regulation to implement this decree. For the next environmental law and provision, we have Presidential Decree number 984, providing for the revision of Republic Act number 3931, commonly as the Pollution Control Law, and for other purposes. This act was enacted to modify the organizational structure of the National Pollution Control Commission to make effective and efficient the discharge of its function and responsive to the demand of the times occasioned by the accelerative phase of the country's industrialization program. As we all know, as the country industrialized or have its industrialization program, the more it caters pollution. So this law helps in modifying the organizational structure of the National Pollution Control Commission. Because why? Kung strong ang ating organizational structure sa ani nga National Pollution Control Commission is maka-render sila og effective and efficient nga function. And this will cater the demands of the times nga ang ating country is mo adapt na sa mga industrialization program. For further explanation, this act was also created to give relevance or importance to the National Pollution Control Commission as the primary agency responsible for the prevention and control of environmental pollution. So, makita natin diri nga importante jud ang role sa National Pollution Control Commission. That's why ani nga act is there is a need to modify the organizational structure, because once ma-modify ang organizational structure, again maka-render sila og effective and efficient nga function. So, this is one of the precedent of the Philippine environmental laws that was enacted by President Ferdinand E. Marcos on the 18th of August 1976 to prevent, abate, and control pollution of water, air, and land for the more effective utilization of resources in the country. Since this act is enacted to modify the organizational structure of the National Pollution Control Commission, under the law it includes how they are being modified. Under Section 3, it states that the commission shall be headed by one full-time commissioner and assisted by two full-time deputy commissioners, one of whom shall be responsible for standard setting and the other for enforcement. Under Section 4, there is created an interagency advisory council attached to the commission, which shall be composed of representatives designated by the secretaries of the department. Under Section 5, it states there that the Commission shall have a Water Pollution Control Division, an Air Pollution Control Division, a Research and Development Division, a Legal Division, an Administrative Division, and such other divisions or unit as may be approved in the General Appropriation Act. Under Section 7, public hearings shall be conducted by the Commissioner, Deputy Commissioners, or any senior official duly designated by the Commissioner prior to the issuance or promulgation of any order or decision by the Commissioner requiring the discontinuance of industrial waste or other waste into the water, air, or land resources of the Philippines as provided in the decree. Under Section 9, any person found violating or failing to comply with any order, decision, or regulation of the Commission for the Control and Abatement of Pollution shall pay a fine not exceeding 5,000 pesos per day for every day during which such violation or default continues. Now we're back to our Guess Me game. Can you guess our fifth word? How about our sixth word? Very good.
Now, let's move on to the next environmental law, which is the Republic Act number 3571, an act to prohibit the cutting, destroying, or injuring of planted or growing trees, flowering plants, and shrubs or plants of scenic value along public roads, in plazas, parks, school premises, or in any other public ground. This is one of the Philippine environmental laws that was enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the Philippines in Congress on the 21st of June 1963. This act provides for the protection of flowers, plants, and trees from felling and destruction in order to promote and conserve its beauty and ensure climate preservation. And the appointed authority shall be the Director of Parks and Wildlife, wherein they shall have the power to issue and promulgate rules and regulations as may be necessary in carrying out provisions of this act. Now, if you fail to obey this rule or law, like you're the type of person that doesn't care to our environment, nga when you're in a public places such as schools, and di ba naadyo ni daghang mga tanom nga makita nato palibot sa school, and trip nimo nga gubon ang mga tanom, which is very wrong and against this law, no? And so there will be punishments, of course. This law states that any person who cuts, destroys, damages, or injures naturally growing or planted trees of any kind shall be punished with a penalty ranging from 6 months to 2 years of imprisonment and a fine up to 5,000. Can you imagine that? Musugot ba mo nga mapriso mo? Just because of the reason nga nagguba mo og tanom kay trip-trip ra ninyo. Di ba dili? That is why we should always adhere to the environmental laws and put it into practices. Although there are exceptions for this law, such as if cutting trees is necessary for public safety. For instance, if labong na kayong usa ka tree and it is dangerous for kanang og naay strong winds or worse, strong typhoons that can cause huge damages to any kinds of trees. Therefore, cutting it will be necessary for our safety, right? Yes. And additionally, it is also an exception if cutting trees is necessary to enhance its beauty. but only upon the recommendation of the committee of a municipality and upon the approval of the Director of Parks and Wildlife. Today, if we observe our surroundings in our modern world today, the trees are now slowly becoming extinct like in urban areas. Diba, ang ato lang jung permi makita sa usa ka city is buildings, wala na jay trees. And deforestation is one of the rampant environmental issue today, right? Hence, to prevent the trees from dying out, every one of us are encouraged to participate in any environmental activities such as planting trees around our homes, schools, and in any public grounds. Now let's have the last environmental law, which is the Republic Act number 8749, otherwise known as the Philippine Clean Act of 1999. This act was enacted on the 90th of July 1998. It was created to protect and advance the right of the people to a balanced and healthy ecology in accord with the rhythm and harmony of nature, thereby promoting and protecting the global environment to attain sustainable development while recognizing the primary responsibility of the local government units to deal with environmental problems. By this, the state recognizes that the responsibility of cleaning the habitat and the environment is primarily area-based. This act provides for the creation of a national program of air pollution management focusing primarily on pollution prevention. As we all know, air pollution is a familiar environmental health hazard, am I right? It refers to the release of pollutants into the air, pollutants which are detrimental or dangerous sa atong health and the planet as a whole. The primary sources of human-made air pollution are vehicle emissions, fuel oils, byproducts of manufacturing and power generation, particularly coal-fueled power plants, and smoke from wildfires or burning garbages and plastics. Now we know that our government is taking action against air pollution by implementing laws, policies, and programs like this one, the Philippine Clean Act of 1999. But the problem is with us, kita mga tao. How can we stop these environmental issues when we don't know how to show adherence to the environmental laws made by our government? Diba walay mahitabo nga changes o dili ta mo lihok? Anybody can take steps to reduce air pollution. Every one of us can make simple changes every day in our lives by doing some ways to reduce it. For instance, at home, we can help clean the air by starting to stop our habit of burning garbages and plastics. I know nga this is a common bad practices nato, right? Nga magsunog jud og mga plastics bisag hibaw ta nga dili maayo. So we should stop this bad habit of ours. In addition, another ways of reducing air pollution are taking public transportation instead of driving a car. Or we can ride a bike instead of traveling in carbon dioxide emitting vehicles. Furthermore, in this law, the state also recognizes the principle that polluters must pay, meaning offenders or those people who causes pollution to the environment shall be punished with imprisonment of not less than 6 years but not more than 10 years at the discretion of the court. Now, if you don't want to be in prison, then you should start taking an action to help fight the air pollution, and we must always keep into our minds that a clean and healthy environment is for the good of all, and should therefore be the concern of all. And that ends our discussion for today. Now it is time for your evaluation to assess how far you understand the lesson. For your activity, you are going to make an essay in which you will choose one environmental law and provisions made by the government to protect and preserve our environment and explain the significance of this law. In addition, you are also going to cite some of your daily practices that shows adherence to the law you mentioned. To end our discussion for today, allow us to leave you with this quote saying, "The environment must be maintained in order to protect the survival of life in the future." Thank you so much, Biisidmat Tutu, for watching and listening to our video discussion. Always remember to love the environment. Bye!